Well, we got a shitload to do, so let's get started immediately. We're gonna start with After Earth. Yeah, this is not at all in the order we watched them in.
No. Quite the contrary. It's not even in the same day order we watch these movies.
It's almost
Backwards.
It's the reverse order we watched them. Yeah, all the way.
So then now I know what we're ending with.
So apparently nobody knows that M. Night Shyamalan directed this. I thought that was a pretty well-known fact, despite the fact that the studio's clearly hiding.
Yeah.
Because it's gone from after The Sixth Sense, everybody loved him, and then Unbreakable kind of split people, but then Signs, won everybody over again. But then a lot of people hated The Village. A lot of people hated Lady in the Water.
I like Lady in the Water.
People just don't like The Happening at all. And then The Last Airbender completely ruined him.
Yeah.
Lately, though, I'm not sure why they're going so far out of their way to hide him, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you look around online, The Village and Lady in the Water are kind of cult classics now.
I like Lady in the Water. I liked it. I remember watching it one day. I had nothing to do. I think I didn't have a ride home that night, so I had to kill some time, and I watched Lady in the Water, and I remember really liking it. I absolutely despise The Village, though. I thought it was really bad.
I don't really like either. But, and I'm the only person, I believe, in the world that will defend The Happening.
I would defend Brian O'Halloran.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
We never see his face.
No! It's the only thing I ever defend about that movie.
But yeah, for some reason, I like The Happening. And when somebody, I say defend, but I can't really defend it, because I know why people hate it, but for some reason, I just don't mind it.
Oh, different strokes for different folks.
Of course, when it was very interesting, because I saw it when it came out on DVD,
mm-hmm.
and it was right when I got back from Jersey.
Okay.
And the train station in Philadelphia that they go to in The Happening, I had just come from that train station.
Ah.
When I saw The Happening, and it was really weird.
It's like seeing the LAX terminal in Valentine's Day and be like, hey, I was there a couple months ago.
So, this was maybe 3 days later.
Good God.
But, so yeah, this After Earth already has a bad reputation. Once the reviews took a real long time to come out, and when they started coming out, they were really bad. I saw a headline on Yahoo that just said critics cannot stand After Earth.
I think something like Rotten Tomatoes said it's 20 or 30% rotten right now.
It's down to 16, man.
Good God. That was only the other day I looked at that.
I wouldn't call this a good movie, but it's not it's not catastrophically bad like that's making it out to be.
No.
The main backlash it's getting is Will Smith actually came up with the idea of the story. And everybody's saying, that could have gone to some promising teen actor or something, and all he wants to do is put Jaden in his movies, and there's this huge conspiracy that's been around for a while now about how the Smiths are attempting to use their family to take over the world. Will and Jada are like Pinky and the Brain with their children.
Wow.
Only they're both the brain, there's no Pinky there.
Oh, don't forget that their children are named Willow and Jaden.
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
The boy's named after Jada, the girl's named after Will.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks the Smiths have this real arrogance about them in that way, but
no.
Will Smith's first son Trey is not involved in this at all. He's just nobody even knows he exists.
Who's the Pinkett that was involved? I saw that in the credits. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was a he or she. I can't remember, but there was a Pinkett that was involved with it. That wasn't Jada. It was a name I've never heard of before, but I remember reading the credits, but I don't remember what the name was off the top of my head.
I only saw Jada's name as far as that.
Oh.
But yeah, this Jaden is even credited over Will Smith.
Yeah.
On the posters, Will gets the first credit, but in the movie itself, Jaden actually has the first credit, which makes sense because the movie's about 85% Jaden, 15% Will.
Yeah, this is definitely Jaden's movie all day long.
And well, I guess everybody knows the plot, but I'll go ahead and all reviews do that. So,
Yeah.
So Jaden wants to be a ranger. They keep calling themselves that. I don't know what they do exactly, but they're like, I don't even know what they are. But
I'm not sure what to say they are, really. They're
It's
very
what-
military-based, is basically what it is. But I don't know what the military exists in this, like, when Earth is basically now a wasteland.
Yeah, it's like part of the government too or something. But anyway, it's what Will Smith's character is a general,
Mm.
and Jaden wants to be, like him, but he fails the test. And we get some awkward family drama and stuff like that. I think Will Smith's wife is Sophia Ganeto. She was from Hotel Rwanda.
Hmm.
And I don't know who she is in relation. Like I guess she's a second wife because we keep having flashbacks to this woman.
Yeah.
That was like killed. This flashback that we keep cutting back to over and over and over again. It's the same flashback every time, and I don't really know what the purpose of it was. But for some reason, that flashback is what drives Jaden or something. But
And that's exactly what the purpose is.
But anyway, I noticed something that was off immediately.
Okay.
And that was, obviously we know because of the trailer, Earth is like, this wasteland where like everything is all mutated and everything it's inhabitable. And Jaden's narrating and he says, Earth got this way because we destroyed it. And of course it cuts to a factory. And it's like, now they're trying to do an environmental message. But then, right after that, they show, like, floods and, like, natural disasters.
Mm.
And it's like, we as humans don't cause natural disasters, so how does that fall into we destroyed it? It's like
Are in, like, the ozone layer, maybe? That might be partially what it is. If we destroy the ozone layer, like, the sun's gonna fall out of the sky or something like that. Definitely not a science major, but something like that.
I don't know, but the only thing I saw in that little montage that could say we destroyed it was that cliche shot of a factory that they always show. Where all the smoke is coming out of, like, different
Of course.
things. But, But anyway, so they're in that ship, and Will's going to do something, and of course he's all like, pack your bags or come with me. He actually says that in those words.
Yeah.
And then of course it crashes, and everybody dies except for the two of them, and they land on this uninhabitable Earth. And Jaden has to basically go get the thing that's going to rescue them, or else they're going to die, because Will, his leg's fucked up.
Both of Will's legs are broken.
Yeah, he can't do anything. But, when I had first heard about it, I don't know if maybe the studio didn't like it and it got changed, or if I had just heard wrong, but for the longest time I had heard that the plot was going to be that Will died in the crash, and it was literally just Jaden by himself.
I thought he was going to die. There were many parts of the movie I thought that he was going to pass away.
But the whole movie is, it's Will basically telling him what he needs to do. He's like got this...
Very monotone voice.
It's the thing. I actually thought Will was good in it.
But it works, because if you're basically know you're dying and was it like a heart problem or something like your legs are broken, you can't really go anywhere, I wouldn't be all jovially talking either.
I wouldn't... Well, the thing that's really distracting people is the accents.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you go that far into the future, obviously, language will have changed and evolved.
Oh yeah, like we learned in Cloud Atlas.
Yeah. So, some critics are this is why I hate critics and reviews, especially for a universally hated movie, is people are complaining that they don't like the accents. And they're saying, you could have made it easier by just having them talk normal, even if it is in the future. Well, if the movie had done that, then the critics would be complaining in the other direction.
Yeah, exactly. You can't please everyone, obviously.
But, Yeah, the people were. I mean, it's not a good movie, but people were out to hate it immediately because it had Shyamalan's name on it. That's why the studio wasn't showing his name, despite the fact that Will Smith personally chose him.
As bad as it is, that's actually a smart move on their part.
Yeah, it's like.
I'm not saying it's the right move. I say it's a smart move since everyone's gonna hate it anyway. Why give another reason to put another nail in Shyamalan's coffin?
Because it's like if you see the Sixth Sense cover,
Yeah,
it says like Bruce Willis,
yeah,
an M. Night Shyamalan film. We see you look at something like The Village, it says M. Night Shyamalan, The Village.
yep.
So he was like, because of the Sixth Sense and Signs and all those, he was able to use his name to market, and that works in the opposite way now. So, I don't think an M. Night Shyamalan film is even written on the poster at all.
I don't believe
If
it is.
If it is, it's like in the fine print.
His name is in the fine print. I know that for a fact, but I don't recall if his name's on the poster.
Yeah, and notice another thing. Not only were they hiding it in the advertising, but all of M. Night Shyamalan's other movies have beginning credits
True.
that say like an M. Night Shyamalan film and then written, produced, and directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep. Tyler Perry.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't even have beginning credits either.
No.
Kind of like they were afraid if they saw the ending credit directed by M. Night Shyamalan, people would get up out of their seats and go get a refund before it was too late.
It also doesn't have the signature twist either.
Yeah. People were saying like.
Neither did The Last Airbender though. So.
In both of these cases, he's working with somebody else's material.
That's true.
But, the thing is a lot of people were expecting either there would be a twist that Will actually was dead the whole time and Jaden's been on his own all along, but Will Smith was like his conscience or something. People thought there was going to be a twist where that even though they claim it was set in the future, it could have actually been the past, and then like something about Jaden ending up being Adam, and the movie would end with him finding Eve or something.
What?
But no, that doesn't. None of those happen. There's no twist. But
Oh.
those were the theories floating around.
Only twist is the back of my neck from bending down too much.
Another problem is
I was tired when I watched this story.
The effect. That's another thing about it being set in the future is the sets and the effects look really expensive.
Yeah.
Like this movie's not going to make its money back.
It's not going to make a quarter of its money back. It's what it sounds like.
But there's some things like Will has like these futuristic pills.
Yeah.
And have all this futuristic stuff. But there's a scene at the beginning. This is like, I think the trailer said it's like 2,000 years from now or something. The movie never really said when it was, but
No.
Yeah, to get most of what's going on, you have to remember the trailer. The thing is there's a scene where he has a run-in with an amputee who wants to stand up and salute him, but he can't because he's missing a leg, and he's just on this little chair thing. And he's telling the guys, you guys have to, pick me up so I can stand up and salute him. But do you think amputees are really going to be just hopping around on one leg with all the technology they have 2,000 years from now?
Yeah.
It's like, surely something would have been around to, like, help him out.
Yeah, like what happened with Jake Sully with his problems. He had a whole body to deal with it. But this isn't Avatar by any realm of the imagination.
No, it tries to be.
Yeah, big time.
But, Well, another big problem is the plot. I like what, this isn't Will's problem, because Will just came up with the story. So this is actually a compliment to him. It's a good story with the whole, the father-son thing. That's another thing about casting Jaden is, whether Jaden's not a good actor or not, this is the kind of story that helps to have that realistic father and son bonding.
Absolutely.
Like, I suppose if you want to be an actor that's, trying to break out and you want things that are going to challenge you, then it would be a challenge to have a father-son dynamic with this mega superstar like Will Smith.
Yeah.
But it's also a useful thing to, if you want an effective father-son dynamic,
To actually be
it's
effectively
already,
father and son.
It's already there.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to do anything to it. But the problem with the script, I guess is what it is I'm gonna guess when it said story by Will Smith, that was Will saying, there's this kid who wants to live up to his father's name, and they ended up crash landed on a deserted Earth, and he has to prove himself to his dad.
That's it. That's all it has to be a story credit.
The problem is the script was written by Shyamalan and somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
and the script doesn't do anything else. That one story is just completely stretched out to an hour 40 in the script, and not a lot happens for a lot of the movie. It's Jaden running, Jaden hiding, Jaden fighting by himself.
Yeah.
And every now and then we cut back to Will, who's like losing his will to live more and more.
Yeah, I know. Well, both of his legs are broken. He's trying to get try to fuse it together, and it won't work. And he knows he's going to die. So obviously,
I don't know what was, but about the budget. I didn't check. I don't know how much it was made for, but there were some times where you could tell they might have been being rational.
Okay.
Which is like they have these massive set pieces that just look like they go endlessly, and you know it's all green screen, but still that shit's expensive.
Oh yeah, of course.
But then and you have these massive sets, like the inside of their house is like really futuristic looking and all that, and the crash area.
Okay.
The set piece of the crash.
I gotcha.
But then there's scenes where, like at the end when Jaden's fighting that monster, which reminded me for some reason of Beldar narveling the gargoyle.
When I saw that creature come out, I had to start laughing.
But the thing is I can help but notice they're supposed to be like on this big volcano.
Yeah.
But when Jaden was like sliding around on the rocks, that just looked like a gravel parking lot.
Yeah.
And this big this plane crash that you see happen, like in the trailer. You don't actually see the plane crash. You see it from the inside, kind of like the shot. It looks a lot like the shot in The Gray, when Jaden's got the air thing on, and we see the broken off place behind him. But with a movie this action packed and this big budget, the way the plane crash happens is we see that shot that's in the trailer, and then the screen goes black, and we hear crashing sound effects, and then we just fade in, and Jaden's like just laying there.
Laying there in the carnage of the crash.
It's kind of like in cartoons when you see somebody fall down the stairs and you don't see them land, you just hear all the different sound effects.
Every step has to make a different sound for some reason.
But, so yeah, for the most part, it was well made, but sometimes it's not. Will Smith proves that he is a great actor still, and Jaden needs some work. He's not a bad actor. Like the scene where a lot of people think it's cheesy, but the scene where he's, arguing with Will about
diving off the mountain,
which one of them is a coward.
Yep.
That scene's actually pretty well acted by him.
I agree. The tears and everything, it all looked rather believable.
People are talking about how the problem is Jaden's been good as an actor so far. Like, he hasn't been, completely terrible but the thing is in Pursuit of Happiness, he had Will always there to play off of. And the Karate Kid, he always had Jackie Chan.
It's true.
This movie's just him. By himself.
He's not ready to take on this kind of role yet.
Like, he has Will to have a dynamic with, but their characters are in completely different places.
Yeah. So
most of the time, Jaden's probably just talking to green screens, and I don't know if they still use tennis balls, but that's usually the old thing. But yeah, I expected it to be a lot worse. But then, at the same time, it was one of those. It wasn't really that I expected it to be much worse. It's that I was reading the reviews saying, I'm going to assume the movie's not this bad. There's no way it could be as bad as they're putting it out to be. And it wasn't. Yeah, it's just... It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrid. People are out to hate on the Smith family because, he's giving his son parts. As if that's never happened before. How many Barrymores are there?
Good point.
Just like, yeah, that's the main argument. Like, everybody's response is, yeah, because Will Smith giving his son parts in movies has never, ever happened in the history of Hollywood. People, of course, then again, Hollywood royalty used to mean something to people. Now it's just another thing to hate on.
Very true.
And people were out to hate it already because of that and because of Shyamalan. But yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's good.
No, it's not good.
But it's not very bad.
Take all the bad reviews you've read and lower your expectations to the point that there's no way you're gonna like the movie, and you might understand that it's not as terrible as people say it is. It's not good, but it's not terrible. I've seen a lot worse this year. I've seen a lot worse in the last couple of months than this movie.
The main problem is it just suffers from redundancy.
Yeah, nothing going on too. A lot of times
it could have been throw in one of those twists that people were making theories about, and it could be an extended Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. Very true.
Twilight Zone already did the Adam and Eve twist, but they could have done the Will was dead thing or something.
Yeah, it could have worked.
Of course, then again, Shyamalan's already dealt with the main character was dead the whole time twist, which he stole from Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
The Dream Girl episode. But I think that's all I need to say about After Earth. If you want to see it, the people in there obviously went wanting to see it, and they seemed to like it fine. So
it was a really weird mix of people too. It wasn't just everybody you would think would be in there. It's like a mixture of everyone.
Yeah, you had your tools, and you had your. There was that girl that was really mad at her mom the whole time.
That was funny.
But yeah, I don't like it, but if you want to see it and you think you'll like it, then I'm sure you'll be fine. So that's about it for that. Now let's go on to you gotta let me say what I'm gonna say, and then,
I gotcha.
And then you can talk.
Alright, right on.
The next movie obviously is Now You See Me, which is probably gonna be pretty well liked. I don't know that for a fact.
I don't know what the reviews are so far.
I can say that right now, and its Rotten Tomatoes score could be 5%, but I think audiences will like it. But as you've seen from the trailers, it's you have this massive cast, and there's even some people that aren't even that advertised in the trailer, like Common, and I think there was somebody else. There's also Michael Kelly, who is in a lot of stuff, but I know you will know him because he played Andy Kaufman's brother in Man on the Moon.
He did.
But he's in a lot of stuff. What is that?
43% on Rotten Tomatoes for Now You See Me, 13% for After Earth.
God, it's still going down.
That's as of right now.
After Earth was at 16 when I left the house today.
King of the Summer's got 75%. We have no way to see it.
Well, anyway, you know the plot. It's, magicians, and they use magic, to be criminals. And Mark Ruffalo is the cop. And Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman are in there too, because they'll pretty much do anything nowadays. So,
the Las Vegas trailer shows us that.
Well, the thing about this movie is it actually had me for a while. For the entire first hour of the movie, I liked it. But the second half gets more and more ridiculous and more predictable to where I couldn't wait for it to end. And it was just a weird turn of events. For the first hour, I was, really cheering it on. And then by the end, it was just this is just bullshit. And I'll show you how that progression happened.
Now, I'm curious about that, actually.
So anyway, there's the scene at the beginning where they get caught by Ruffalo over the trick with the French guy that's in the trailer, where they supposedly sent him to Paris. And they literally do it like the beginning of The Usual Suspects. All four of them are being interrogated, and it's intercut and keeps cutting back and forth and stuff like that. And Ruffalo is basically playing a more rugged version of Ray Fanning.
The Ray Fanning?
Ruffalo's got that obsessed detective thing down.
Wow. That's very true.
You guys probably don't remember this at all, but Ray Fanning was the character that Ruffalo played in Collateral. If you even remember, you probably didn't even remember he was in that, but yeah. So, I will give it credit for a few things, which are, there's this TV spot going around, and I thought it was a little arrogant, but after having seen the movie, it is pretty true. The TV spots for Now You See Me are now saying, in a summer full of sequels, see something original.
That's very true.
It is an original plot. Like,
yeah.
I mean, there are movies, I can see that are kind of like it, but the plot itself, where magicians that use their illusions to commit crimes, I don't recall having seen that before. But
That's never happened before, to my knowledge, either.
And it's pretty well made. Like the writing, for a while, the writing was good, and the characters are, distinguishable. And even though I feared that, Kane and Freeman are not completely wasted like I thought they would be.
Not at all.
But there was Freeman is perfectly cast. Like, he plays those guys that stake out magic shows and then figure out what the trick is.
Kind of like what Penn and Teller did on Showtime with everything.
And his little show, I can't remember. I think it's just called Magic Unmasked or something.
Yeah, it's something like that.
But that show looks like it would really exist with Morgan Freeman as the host.
Very true.
And however, the thing that really confused me was Michael Caine's character.
Okay.
Michael Caine's whole storyline totally lost me. The thing is he's their benefactor.
Correct.
They're famous because of him, but we don't really get much backstory on that. And, they're, really friendly with him. Like the scene in the plane where Woody Harrelson's a mentalist, and he can just look at you and, tell you your whole life and hypnotize you. And they're playing this... Eisenberg's trying to show Woody Harrelson he can do it to Michael Caine, and
he fails miserably.
It's a funny scene, the way Caine's having fun with it and everything. But then just from out of fucking nowhere, Caine's suddenly a bad guy. That just... I didn't even see the transition. I don't even know... As of right now, I don't know what, well, apparently he gets rich off the poor, basically.
Yeah, his insurance companies have made him a lot of money, and it bilked a lot of people out of money, and that's why they're trying to return the money back to them.
The scene in the trailer where Caine says, "I was a $140 million distraction." Until they do that scene, we never know that about his character.
No, that's true.
That's
a very good point. We don't know what...
Could they not have touched on that, or given us a little backstory on him, or... It's just kind of a plot point. They just kind of said, "Oh, by the way, this is what's happening."
He's got $140 million. You don't know how or why. He just does.
And he uses Freeman to figure out, use his being able to decipher how magic tricks are done to catch them. And for some reason, this makes Freeman a bad guy in the movie's eyes.
Yeah.
Which I never understood. And I don't understand without saying it, what becomes of Freeman at the end. I don't understand how that was warranted. Because...
I can't say it without giving it away.
The criminals of the movie...
are the heroes.
Even if they're heroes, are criminals.
Yeah.
And they make the people trying to stop these criminals the bad guys.
Okay, it's like the Ocean's 11 movies.
But the thing is the problem is, the scene in the trailer where Caine is telling Freeman about this, and Freeman says, "What do you want me to do?" And Caine says, "Find them and destroy them." We never see Caine again after that scene.
No.
And he's never even really talked about again. The movie just kind of goes from there. But it just really, really lost its way there. It had a great setup. They don't just start off famous. We get their whole thing about how they were found and what they were doing before then and how they found each other and how they got to where they are. But then they pretty much disappear. When Ruffalo's character comes in, he and... Oh, God, how do you pronounce her last name?
Laurent?
I think it sounds more French than that when you say it
Laurent.
the way, but something like that.
We'll go with that.
Christoph Waltz mentioned her in all his acceptance speeches for Bastards, and I've since forgotten, but she works for Interpol.
Bridget von Hammersmark.
No, she was Shoshana.
A long day.
She's from Interpol, and he's, what, the FBI?
Yeah.
And for some reason, they have a romance. And for some reason, that story is most of the movie.
There's no reason why.
We start off with them, the four of them, the four horsemen. And they're like this big deal, and they have this big story. But then suddenly, when Ruffalo comes into it... well, let me verify that Ruffalo is actually... Everybody's really good in it.
Yeah.
But Ruffalo is actually the best of the cast. Not like in terms of ever, but I mean in the movie. But the problem is that wasn't the way to do it. What was making this movie really great and fun and alive was the Four Horsemen and the way their characters worked, especially with each other.
Agreed.
And they become they're hardly in the entire second half. Like, they become really supporting characters. Like, every now and then they pop up, and the only time we see them, they're running away from Ruffalo.
They're important in the second half, but it's kind of like you don't know that until after the fact. You find out how really important they were once you find out exactly how the ending is supposed to go.
Let me get into that. But first, I'll talk about... I was still kind of into it at this point. There is a really good action scene where Ruffalo chases Dave Franco.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off as this fight in his apartment. It goes on for a really long time, and like he starts throwing cards at him, and like what's the word? the pieces of wood from the fireplace he's throwing.
Like kindling and stuff? Something like that.
But anyway,
trying to think what.
And then this turns into a car chase that's pretty elaborate.
Don't forget about the guy his jacket's caught in the garbage disposal.
Yeah, Michael Kelly is a... he also gets a random car to the face, too, just for being there.
Really?
And then Ruffalo chases him, and they end up on this bridge, and then it's this whole big action scene, and it's actually pretty well put together.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if you probably didn't put this together, but I found this... It was... I guarantee it was completely unintentional, but it was just funny to me. Franco's car ends up flipping over.
Yeah.
And it catches fire. And he's upside down and he's on fire. And Ruffalo's coming in and he goes to get in to pull him out.
Mm-hmm.
Ruffalo's name is Dylan.
Crash.
Yes.
Yes!
Ruffalo plays a guy named Dylan who is pulling a person out of their car that's on fire and
that's
upside
awesome.
down. I got some severe deja vu there.
Wow. Very nice.
But I guarantee that wasn't on purpose at all.
I'm sure it wasn't.
But yeah, after that, it's just... You know what really started to bother me the most about this movie? God, I hate to say it because I really liked the movie for a while there, but... This is one of those movies that drives me insane because it thinks it's so smart. But here's the problem. Throughout the entire movie, literally, every other line of dialogue is Jesse Eisenberg, doing Zuckerberg all over again. And he just keeps saying over and over again, I'm always going to be a step ahead of you. I always have something up my sleeve. You're always going to be one step behind. We're always going to be ahead. We're always going to be ahead. Well, that pretty much tells the audience, hey, just so you know, every single thing you're looking at is not really happening. It's something else. And you pretty much just establish that to them. And then every time you do a big reveal, you basically told us over and over and over again, you just reminded us, just over again, what we're seeing is actually something else. So where's the element of surprise?
It's true.
They act like they've done this big, ooh to the audience, but... If the audience has any brains whatsoever, they're always expecting something that's unexpected. the way you keep repeating, we're always a step ahead, is going to have the audience constantly saying, you know, like the very first scene with Isla Fisher, she does that trick where for some reason she's going to fall into the tank and then she's going to bring Piranha down on. She's going to escape before the Piranha come down on her.
Exactly.
Well, of course, everybody knows. Why have a whole tank of Piranha she says she's going to pour on her if she doesn't actually use them? So she ends up getting stuck in there with the Piranha and she's freaking out and you're like, oh, well, this is clearly not what it looks like. And then it's some big surprise when she appears in the audience and she's fine.
Anyone that watched any of the Masked Magician specials saw that exact same trick done.
And that's the thing is, they keep thinking they're fooling the audience when they do that because the movie becomes this redundant goose chase where Ruffalo and everybody else figures out where they're going to be. So they go there and...
They're not there.
Oh, no! And this happens like 5 times. Like, Ruffalo thinks he's a step ahead, but of course he's 2 steps behind. And they just do this over and over again, and they expect us to be surprised every time.
It doesn't help that Morgan Freeman is the one that's supposed to be helping them, and he's kind of being very condescending about, oh, by the way, you still don't know what's going on, do you?
And they just... And it's like... I'm kind of glad Eisenberg wasn't in the movie for very much, because I would have started getting really pissed off with him, because he's like, I'm always a step ahead of you, and it's like, oh, Eisenberg, we know that, so not really anymore. So, you know... And then there's that thing where, the scene where it just really started to just, you know... I had the last straw was... There's this scene where they're in an elevator. We haven't seen the Four Horsemen for like half an hour. And they have this scene in it. We're coming up on the big ending. And, this trick they keep building up to, but I don't even know, like... I don't even know what the point was of what they were doing. But, never mind. They're in this elevator, and we saw the Four Horsemen at the beginning when they were separated.
Yep.
We got one scene of them meeting up in this apartment for the first time.
Correct.
And then we have 2 scenes of them doing the act.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for them. And then suddenly, they're in this elevator on their way up to the big thing, and they have this tender moment where they're all basically talking about how much they appreciate each other. And it's like, really, if you guys had been significant characters and we could have seen you guys, you know, bonding in the past during all of this, instead of following around Ruffalo and his pointless love story, maybe that scene would have been worth something.
It was mentioned in the very beginning of the movie. It wasn't mentioned about Woody Harrelson and Dave Franco at all. It was basically said that at the very beginning of the career, Isla Fisher was his assistant. So that's where they developed it.
And they were not a couple. They were not and they, of course, you know, the more you deny that you're a couple, you know.
Basically, in essence, Isla Fisher and Jesse Eisenberg were Lance Burton and, I gotta remember her name off the top of my head. The First Lady of Magic. They were a couple, and then she became big, and then he became big, so that's pretty much what they were doing.
And then, finally, go ahead and think
Melinda. There you go.
Go ahead and think I'm full of shit. But, you know, whatever. But there is one big twist at the end where there's a big reveal. Like, the big mystery of the movie is who brought the Four Horsemen together.
Correct.
And they keep shrouding that in mystery. I knew who it was.
You could almost figure it out.
The way they were saying, the way they were building up to where the absolutely most unexpected thing could happen, you know. By the end of the movie, nothing is unexpected, including that. So, you know, it started off just fine, but then this just... That was its problem, was the writers were really nice, and like, you know, here's our characters, and here's what's great about them, and you're like, yeah, I do like these characters, you know. They're fun, and it's funny.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
But then the writers start acting like Eisenberg's character in thinking that they're smarter than everybody in the room, when as many times as Eisenberg says the foreshadowing of we're always a step ahead of you, he might as well have just said, everything. Like, it's just... I mean, the way he kept saying that, it's like, when Ruffalo found the safe for the first time, it's like, do you really... Is the audience really gonna say, "Oh, he found the safe. We're done"?
No.
Oh, it's filled with, balloons and shit.
Yeah.
And people love to do those. Like, writers are in love with themselves when they make movies like this. Like, I even blame the Ocean's 11 writers on this. This might have been the start of the trend, or the return of the trend, where...
That's the vibe I got from the movie. It was very Oceans-like.
They do the, every movie loves their big reveal, where the music speeds up, and, the people who have done the trick have these satisfied smiles on their faces, and you're imagining the audience going, "Oh my god, they so fooled me." Writers love thinking that they've accomplished that, and it just really comes off snarky and unlikable. That's really what does the movie in, is the movie itself starts to act like Eisenberg's character, which isn't a good thing, because Eisenberg's... I'll be careful with my wording, because I don't want Mark Zuckerberg getting pissed off at me, but this character is like a much, if you can believe this, a much snottier version of Jesse Eisenberg's interpretation of Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, yeah, this movie went down the drain pretty fast, and only continued to dig its own grave even more as the twists kept happening. And just fuck it. So, do you want to defend it?
Yeah, I do, actually. Okay, I went into this year, and everyone knows that even knew me or even heard about it on this channel. I was really hyped for Burt Wonderstone. And Burt Wonderstone was not very good at all. It's totally, did not live up to the expectations. The magic was awesome. But that's about it. I thought it was. It was really good. And the magic in Oz was awesome, too.
You mean the tricks in Burt Wonderstone that, aren't really tricks because they were done with movie magic instead of magician's illusions?
They still looked good for what they were. So I wanted...
Before we go on, I gotta say that. One of my big beefs with this movie was gonna be that the trailer made it seem the magic was real, but the one good thing Now You See Me does is they never delve into the magic is real thing.
No.
Like, everything is an illusion of some kind.
Yeah, exactly.
So, at least there's that.
Well, okay, I was into it from the get-go. I really wanted to see this movie. I found out about it. I love the cast. I love the setup for the movie. I thought there was no way it could miss. And for me, it didn't miss. I totally understand what you're saying, 100%. I know what other people are saying. I get that. I see why you thought that. But just for me, it was different. I don't know why. It just was. I mean, I'm such a magic guy. It's kind of like I really enjoyed seeing the tricks done. And no matter who's doing it, it probably could have been anybody at this point. It could have been Dennis Quaid doing them. I probably would have enjoyed it. And I don't like Dennis Quaid, as anyone here knows that. But basically what I'm trying to say is I got into the movie. And I do see your point that midway through the movie, when Ruffalo shows up, everyone else goes away. I mean, it's just Ruffalo and Laurent, and that's all it is. And then occasionally you get Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman.
I'm more than willing to watch a movie that stars Ruffalo. I'm just saying, when you got the rest of that cast, you need to show them off.
Yeah.
Especially since you spend the first half hour building them up.
It's like the Avengers. It was like if the whole movie was about Bruce Banner. It wouldn't have worked because it would have been like the Hulk and that was it. I mean, forget Iron Man, forget any Captain America, forget Thor, forget Black Widow, forget anybody else. Yeah, sorry, Jaren. I don't want to talk about Hawkeye, but still, when it comes down to it, I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. You're focusing on just one person. And that's what it did through most of the movie. I liked what they did with the car crash on the bridge. I liked that. And I knew Franco was still alive.
Obviously, that also leads to a twist that he just gave away, by the way.
Yeah.
And you see that shit coming.
Whoops. Sorry about that. Sometimes I...
well.
Anyway, spoiler alert. A little bit late on that. But yeah, I see the twist and everything, and I like that. I like the way it was done. They're all talking about this thing that Adrian didn't even go into. It's called the Eye. like the Eye of Horus or something like that. And what it is kind of like, there's this thing that they've talked about for many years called the Illuminati, and that they're behind everything in the world, and there could be truth to this, who knows. But I doubt it too, but you never know. I mean, I don't want you guys to find me for saying that, but still, basically...
No, if you don't believe in it, then they won't come after you.
Oh, okay, good. I don't know how it works anymore, honestly. But basically what I'm trying to say is this. They're doing this, they all got brought together via cards that are signifying the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And they're all meeting at this abandoned apartment. And the only person who can get in is Franco, because apparently he's the only locksmith in the entire group, even though the rest of them are illusionists, so obviously they should know how to pick a lock.
Well, it also plays him off as like a two-bit criminal.
That's what he is.
So that's the reason.
He's the one that comes off really bad at the very beginning, because his trick messes up, and then he steals the guy's wallet and bombs out, so that's basically what happens. But I mean, we don't really get much of a backstory in him other than the fact that he's a two-bit con artist. But everybody else has a magic talent of some sort, and except for Woody Harrelson, which is a mentalist. So
what is a good running? There's a couple of funny running jokes that involve Woody Harrelson being able to hypnotize people.
Yeah.
Like whenever somebody says the word bullshit, people will start they'll fall into this haze where they start ghost violining Beethoven, and hypnotizing the people to attack Ruffalo every time they see him.
The greatest thing was you didn't think about it. Well, you should have thought about it. And he basically said that, okay, if you say the word freeze, you're going to become football players. You're going to attack the quarterback, and you're going to know who the quarterback is. And of course, the first thing that Ruffalo says as a cop is freeze. So he gets dogpiled and embarrassed on television. And he pretty much has to disappear for a minute or two.
This was before the movie shit the bed, though, so...
Oh, it's just I liked the movie for what it was. I liked the way that everything was set up. I liked that they set up all four characters. Everybody had a reason to be there. And there was this puppet master, obviously, the whole time. And when it all boils down to it, they had that conversation in the elevator during the last end of the movie. Basically was saying that, well, the first false finish of the movie, actually. But,
yeah, it doesn't end.
No, it doesn't. Not right there, it doesn't. It goes further than that. Then you find out the big twist, which I didn't reveal.
Yeah, there was that dude in front of us where it did its supposed big ending, but there was 20 minutes left and 5 more reveals to do. The guy was gone.
Yeah. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings in that way. There's 4,000 go homes before it actually does. But basically...
Elijah Wood's story about Jack Nicholson in the boat.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. Okay, basically I liked what they're talking about. They're basically saying, what happens after this? I mean, we see that scene in the trailer where they all jump off the roof of the building, and there's money, and then they're gone, and that's the end. And, of course, we go to the credit sequence after that. But basically, that happens, obviously, but they're talking about what's next. So obviously they're not going to kill themselves. That's not going to happen. Their common goal is to join this group, the Eye, whatever it is, and they don't know if it's real, they don't know if they really believe in it, but they know they want to be a part of it. And there was a former magician that tried a long time ago, and he failed miserably, and he was the first person that Morgan Freeman debunked on his show. And now, basically, he's back in a different sense for revenge.
You're getting into spoiler territory there.
I'd love to... Oh, I want to spoil it so bad! But, no, basically, I'm just saying that, so just keep that in mind when you watch the movie. But, because, like AJ said, everything's very predictable, even though I enjoyed it. So they're trying to get into this.
I don't know why I'm worried about spoilers. If you have 1/3 of a brain, you're going to see all this shit coming in the first half hour.
I don't know, there's some of the people that didn't get the final, that were going to get the final reveal. I could tell by the look in the crowd, honestly.
Did you see some of them?
Yes. They're not going to get the final reveal. So that's why I'm trying to leave it out of this reveal. But, no, I liked it. I liked it for what it was. I thought everybody had great chemistry. Way too much of Laurent and, yeah. Way too much. Way too much. She was such a red herring it wasn't even funny. And you were supposed to believe that she was in cahoots with them, and of course she definitely wasn't the whole time. And they was like, have faith in me. And it was like, you're lying, and obviously you're behind this too. You're one of the fifth horsemen. AJ's nodding off as I talk. So, no, the fact of the matter is, if you like magic, you'll probably like the movie, honestly. If you're expecting something that's like I don't know, like It's an Ocean's 11 movie. If you like those movies, you'll probably like this movie too. If you want to root for the villain, who obviously is the villain, then you're probably going to like this movie. I understand why people won't like this movie. It's very predictable. It goes on a little bit too long. Way too much focus on Mark Ruffalo's character and not enough on the main four people after the fact, because we basically set them up to be the main characters, and we find out they're not. So, there's always that. And like I said, if you think you're going to like it, then you probably will. If you don't think you're going to like it, you most likely won't. So, I mean, I say go see it. Make your own decision. Obviously, AJ says don't waste your time. So we're probably going to split on that. It's the old Siskel and Ebert thing back again. We split on this movie. So let's get off this subject. And if you want to go see Now You See Me, go ahead. And if not, then, well, you can rent The Prestige if you want to watch a really good magic movie. So there you go.
Just watch the trailer for Now You See Me a couple of times over again. And you'll probably be able to figure everything out.
Except the stuff with the eye. That stuff's not really mentioned in the trailer at all.
Yeah, that was just, you know.
I don't understand can't talk about it.
Alright. We're almost an hour in already, and we have 3 movies to go.
We're going to have some fun now, folks.
Alright. The next movie might very well... I still gotta go back and think about it, but the next movie may very well be the best movie of the year so far. And I have seen... as of After Earth, I have seen 91 movies in 2013.
Good lord.
And this is definitely... This might very well be the best movie of the year right now, and that's The Iceman.
Yeah, no lie.
I think it debuted at... It was either TIFF or Venice last year.
Sounds right.
But nobody really, like, took to it. Like, I never really heard anything.
No.
It's not that I didn't hear anything great about it, it's that I didn't really hear anything at all about it. And I would like to think this is the kind of movie that would get a great reaction from most people.
It kind of went under the radar a bit.
Yeah. Like, especially the fact that its original release date, it came out with Iron Man.
Obviously, most theaters were not going to get that movie if it came out with Iron Man.
I believe the Iceman debuted in 5 theaters.
Good God.
In the entire country. But it's the, I actually did a lot of research on this before I saw the movie, but it's, a killer probably not a lot of people have heard of. Like, the people that know this guy say that he makes people like Bundy and Dahmer look like pussies.
Yeah, I can tell that.
He was a guy named Richard Kuklinski from New Jersey, and he had a wife and 2 daughters, and he lived a perfectly normal family life.
Except for one little difference.
Except for the fact that I can't say he moonlights, because he pretty much did it any time they called him, night or day. He was a contract killer for a mob family. And a very, very ruthless one at that.
That wanted him to only kill for them and them only.
But the thing is he was killing... He supposedly was killing people since he was like 16. Like, I watched... There's like 3... HBO did like 3 different documentaries called the Iceman tapes. And they're all combined in like a 2.5 hour YouTube video that I watched. And basically he was the kind of kid where... He's kind of like the beginning of Rob Zombie's Halloween. Like, all kids that go insane and start killing people start off by killing animals.
Yeah.
And he was telling these horrific stories about how he, yeah, there were times where as a kid, just for fun, Richard Kuklinski would supposedly, that's the thing, Michael Shannon brought this up in an interview too, you can't really tell, Richard Kuklinski is one of those people where when you watch his interviews, you can't really tell
what's real, what's not.
Yeah, because he could be pulling shit out of his ass. But supposedly, when he was younger, he got entertained by taking 2 cats and tying their tails together, and then throwing them on a clothesline and watching them tear each other apart, literally. And, yes, a moment of silence for the cats.
Darn right.
But anyway, yeah, he would just kill people, like, if they just pissed him off. The very beginning of the movie is a guy that pisses him off in the bar, and according to the documentary, he killed the guy with a pool stick, but the movie depicts it as he follows him out to his car and cuts his throat, which is just as effective.
We see it too. It's not something that's done off camera. We see him get his throat
violence
slit.
is right in your face.
Absolutely.
But the thing is when people were upset because Richard Kuklinski is he was arrested in 1986 and died in prison in 2006. But Richard Kuklinski was this big 300-pound guy that was bald.
Mm.
Absolutely not. All of that is the opposite of Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
But the really creepy thing was Shannon had never heard of this guy when he got the script, is what he said. He had to do all the research once he had read the script. But when you listen to the real Richard Kuklinski's voice, even though they look nothing alike, they have the exact same voice.
And I can't imagine someone else in the world having that voice. That's creepy.
It's really creepy.
Indeed.
And, he would just... Shannon just completely, perfectly embodies this guy completely. Like, he's one of those guys where he's, like, just really internal.
Mm.
Like, it's like the lights aren't on. Like, he's just vacant.
Yeah.
But then, when he's mad, he will just... Something comes out of him, and it's like, it's not even him. Like, he's possessed by something.
Good way to put it.
And it's just... And of course, when you think about... When you just... The part on paper, when you don't know what the guy looks like, is Michael Shannon, like, all over.
Yeah.
So, like the scene in Boardwalk Empire, in the first season, where he plays a cop. And he's just a normal cop. But then by the end of the season, he has drowned his partner. But
wow.
But the thing is once his family knows absolutely nothing. They don't know about his murders in the past, and they don't know about him being picked up by the mob. And the thing that happens is he's found out by Ray Liotta, because he was dubbing porn movies. And Ray Liotta came to the studio looking for somebody else. But the way Kuklinski reacted to one of his guys made him think there was something there. So this is brought up in the interview. Kuklinski really did this. This is the way it went. So Liotta's playing a gangster named Roy DeMeo. So DeMeo picks him up one day and just takes him out. And they just pull off. And DeMeo hands him a gun. And he says, "I just want you to go kill that homeless guy." And Kuklinski debates it for like this. Nothing led up to it. He just randomly said, he gave him a gun and he said, "Go kill that homeless guy. I just want to see if you can do it." Kuklinski sits there and maybe thinks about it maybe 5 seconds. And goes over and kills him and comes back. Just like that.
Yeah, I like the way it's shot in the movie, too, honestly. He just sits there with the bum, and he's like, "Can I bum a smoke?" And he's like, "Sure." And next thing you know, bang, done.
That was
and
the
just
thing.
Walks away.
That was the thing about Kuklinski, though, was he said that he'd never wanted to hurt his family, and he would never kill women or children. However, when he did kill somebody, whether he knew them, whether they were close to him or not, it didn't matter to him. Like if he was like if it was somebody he had known for like 20 years, and it was somebody that he had to kill, he would do it and feel nothing. Like he said, the only time he ever would have gone back, and the weird thing about this is he claimed to have killed over 100 people.
Yeah, that's what it says in the last thing on the credits.
And in one of the interviews, he even claimed to go over 200. But he actually said, if he could have gone back and chosen his life, like if he could rewind, he wouldn't kill people. But that's just where his life took him, and that's just what he did.
He did it so he could survive. I guess the only thing I can really say. It's a twisted way to survive, but still.
Except for the fact that he was killing people long before he met Roy DeMeo.
That's true.
And the thing is he said there was one moment where he never felt remorse for his kills, none of them. But there was one guy that he said he wished he had done differently, and that's a guy that is played by Franco, James Franco. I gotta
It's Franco time.
After Now You See Me, I got to specify which Franco's which now. But yeah, James Franco has one scene in this movie that lasts for like 3 minutes because he was supposed to be. We'll get into this character in a minute. Franco was supposed to be Mr. Freezy, but scheduling conflicts.
Probably Spring Breakers and the Oz.
But he still wanted to be in the Iceman, so he played Marty Freeman, who was he was just this hit, and when Kuklinski pulled the gun on him, he started to pray to God to not die.
This was an intense scene.
And Kuklinski says, "Are you praying?" It's like, "You think God's going to come down here and stop me?" And he said, "I'll tell you what. I'm just going to sit here and let you pray for a little bit, and we'll see if anything if God comes down and somehow gets you out of the situation." And Kuklinski just sits there, completely stone-faced, and watches this guy beg for his life. Like, in real life, apparently, it was like for like half an hour, but in the movie, it's just for like a minute or two. But you know. Time restraints.
Of course.
And then Kuklinski walks up to him and just says, "I guess God's busy," and kills him. But the real life Kuklinski said that he doesn't feel any remorse for his kills, but he still would have killed Marty Freeman. He just would have done it more straightforward. He wouldn't have put him through that. So. And then that scene goes right into Mr. Freezy. Mr. Freezy is an explosives and cyanide expert who murders people and hides them in his ice cream truck. And he's played by Chris Evans.
I like this character a lot, actually.
Like, he's even nice enough to inform Kuklinski, like, the setup is, Franco was taking naked pictures of this underage girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she was hiding in his closet, but of course Kuklinski didn't kill her because he doesn't kill women. So he was just dragging her out of the building, and then they run into Chris Evans. And Mr. Freezy just says, "Yeah, y'all might want to get out of here," and he just keeps walking. And sure enough, once they get outside, the building explodes. And of course, the girl starts to get away. So they get in Mr. Freezy's ice cream truck. Mr. Freezy doesn't care whether it's women or children.
No.
And he starts chasing her down.
Because she saw him. She saw his face.
He's chasing her down in his ice cream truck.
This could be funny to people that are watching it on the side of the road.
And I love the, he's another person that just does not care about death either. Like, they're driving along and Kuklinski puts a gun to his head. But Mr. Freezy's driving, so he just says, "You know, if you kill the captain, the ship's going down, so I don't think you want to do that."
I thought he was Captain Freezy. You've called him Mr. Freezy ever since I've talked about it, but I thought on the side of his ice cream truck it said Captain Freezy.
He's Mr. Freezy.
It's interesting, because he was called himself Captain at one point.
The kids call him Mr. Freezy, too.
Yeah, because the side of his ice cream truck says Captain Freezy. I remember that.
In the credits, he's Mr. Freezy.
Distinctly.
In real life, he was Mr. Softy. But
that's better. I like that better.
I guess he did soft serve.
Yeah.
But Mr. Freezy does snow cones, so...
Yeah. It's very true.
But either way, and yeah, we see him, you know, he's really good with the kids. Like, he even gives some of the kids ice cream for free.
Yeah. But
then we get into his truck and we see that he hides the bodies in the same freezer that the ice cream's in. So anyway, he gets involved with him, and Mr. Freezy teaches him how to use cyanide because it leaves no trace about how the victims died. It just makes it look like a heart attack. And then that's what gives him, this is where he gets his, I assume the name the Iceman came from his cold-bloodedness.
Yeah.
But it's literal. The Iceman comes from, Mr. Freezy gave him the idea to kill people and then leave them in a freezer for like 6 months and then drop them off. So coroners can't tell how long they've been dead. And the movie never went into this, but that's actually how he ended up getting caught, because, once he started getting older, which the movie flawlessly passes through time.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, everybody shows age perfectly, like, almost like the movie was shot over that many years. But, yeah, what the movie never went into was one of the ways he got caught, as far as the freezer thing, was, as he was getting older, he started getting more messy. And when, one of the bodies was found and cut open, they still had ice inside their body. And that's when they started to figure it out. And there's a great supporting cast. That Winona Ryder is starting to make a comeback. She's really good as his wife. This is like the biggest role she's had since Mr. Deeds.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
She had just a cameo in Star Trek. It was a cameo practically in Black Swan, and she did a voice in Frankenweenie. This is the first time she's had a big part, I think, since Mr. Deeds, at least in a theatrically released movie.
Yeah.
There's Robert Davi, who most of you probably know as the opera singing Fratelli brother in the Goonies. He's the other crime boss that's feuding with Ray Liotta.
Okay.
And Ray Liotta's right-hand man. I knew he was supposed to be in it, but I didn't recognize him for a while.
The first scene, I couldn't tell it was him.
Ray Liotta's bodyguard is David Schwimmer.
He is damn good in this movie.
Yeah, he's not there very long, but
he makes an impact. His long ponytail and his gym clothes, and
he's doing what Dylan McDermott was doing in the 90s. But the big thing in this movie is Shannon.
Oh.
Like, I wish this movie was later because his buzz should be just insane because he's just like he does the cold-bloodedness so well, and then there's the scenes like there's quite a long scene where it's his a couple of different things happen here, but it's his daughter's birthday party.
Yep.
And it starts with him. I think it happens like right after a scene where we've seen him off somebody.
I believe so.
And then he's written her a poem that he reads out loud, like a poem that he wrote himself for her. And it's like this really tender scene. And then right after that, Liotta's waiting outside and basically threatens to kill his family because he's working with Mr. Freezy now, and Mr. Freezy works for Robert Davi. And then there's this. I don't know what it was about this scene, but this scene was just really like I thought really showed off the acting. Was he comes back inside, but he doesn't go right back to the party because he's still fuming.
He sits on the steps.
He just goes up and he sits on the steps, and his family doesn't know his life at all.
No.
He's just bullshitting them all the time. So he's got to hide why he's so pissed off about these guys that randomly dragged him outside just now. And he's like about to hit the walls and he's about to scream, but he just keeps it all intact. And finally, Winona plays it off. Supposedly, the real Kuklunski's wife had absolutely no idea about anything, but
she seems to have an idea as we progress longer.
Just like I love this tiny little exchange that happened where it's when he's on the steps in this scene where he's saying like, yeah, this deal fell through and like I'm just not going to be able to. And she's like, I know that's bullshit, Richard. And he's like, yeah, I know, you know.
He realizes she's starting to figure it out.
But she never. This is the way it was in real life too. She knew to just not ask ever. So that's basically it was basically easy for him to cover it up because she knew not to ask whatever it was. Then there was is there a cast member I'm forgetting? I think that might be it. The main people anyway.
Yeah.
Oh no, Stephen Dorff.
Dorff, yeah.
Stephen Dorff has another one. As also like Franco just has one scene as Kuklunski's brother. Who the movie hints at this, but it doesn't tell you the whole story. What happened with Joey Kuklunski was he raped a 14-year-old girl and then threw her off a roof and killed her. And
the first part of that is hinted about. The second part was not.
And Richard Kuklunski basically disowned him as a brother.
Oh, yeah.
And they were actually in the same prison when he got arrested. Which was
that's in the forward at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's got a nice 70s soundtrack. Like you got the 70s clothes, the 70s backgrounds. You got to go with the 70s soundtrack, like Elo's Living Thing and Heart of Glass. You don't have a 70s crime movie without Heart of Glass.
No Eva Mendes in this one though.
Yeah, We Are the Night made Heart of Glass big again. There's this. This is completely off topic. I'm sorry, but there's this really funny YouTube video that doesn't exist anymore, and I hate that. But it was somebody redid the. You know how when you walk in a convenience store and you hear like just music playing really lightly?
Yeah.
Somebody redid the convenience store scene from No Country for Old Men, And the only thing, it was so funny, but the only thing they did to it was, the scene plays out, they didn't change anything. The scene plays out exactly with the coin toss and everything. It's just Heart of Glass is playing really lightly in the background through the whole scene.
That's great.
I wish that video still existed. I don't know what happened to it, but...
It's copyright, maybe?
Maybe. I don't imagine Blondie going after a YouTube video.
Talking about No Country for Old Men.
Oh yeah, it was around the time the movie first came out. That might have been the problem. But whoever did that needs to re-upload it. If whoever made that video is watching this now, I insist you re-upload that video.
I was getting ready to say the same exact thing, to be totally honest.
Yeah. There was a couple of things they didn't go into, like there was a scene I really wish had been in the movie that wasn't, where Quincy talked about a story where it was Christmas Eve and everybody was in bed and he was still up making toys, like putting the toys together for the kids, and he got a call to go kill somebody. And this scene, they actually touch on this a little bit, but it's a spoiler to say what it is too. But I'll, well, what happened was he was called on Christmas Eve, and he went out and he was waiting in this guy's back seat. And he shot him in the head. And then he went home and went back to making the toys. And he was watching this, he was watching the news coverage of this guy's murder that he had just committed. And the interviewer from HBO, during the interview, asked him, how did that make you feel, watching that on TV just as soon as you made it happen? And he said, I was just pissed off I couldn't get that fucking wagon together.
At least he had his priorities straight on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, but they did take something from that. After he shoots the guy in the head, he talks about how, like, his ears rang for a really long time because he wasn't counting on how loud a gunshot is inside an enclosed car. That his ears ringing by shooting somebody in an enclosed car does happen in the movie. So, they kind of took from that. But I kind of wish they'd done the whole Christmas Eve scenario.
Mm.
But, they do have a Christmas scene, but it's not the same, really.
Agreed.
And there was just... And then, of course, the ending. The beginning and the end is Shannon. There are scenes directly lifted from the Iceman tapes, but it's Shannon playing them. Like, a lot of people use, like, the real footage, but they had Shannon exactly reenact the scenes in the documentary. And that's eerie, because it's, like, word for word, and he's got it totally down. They even made him bald and with the beard, and... He's still the size of Michael Shannon, but he's got everything up here going, right? And there's this really creepy moment where, as I was saying before, unless he's contracted to kill you, Richard Quincy would have killed you just for pissing him off. Like, there's actually, it was in a different scenario, but there's a scene in the movie where he, strangles a guy, but just to experiment, just to see how it would work, he throws the guy over his shoulder and strangles him this way. And the movie actually does a little nod to that by having him kill somebody. It was under different circumstances, but they threw that kill in there.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, there's another part of the documentary where he talks about shooting somebody in the Adam's apple. And the reason he would do stuff like this is because... basically, just to see, like, how it would work. Like he said, there was one time where I shot a guy in the Adam's apple, and the HBO interviewer said, why would you shoot him there? And he said, I want to see how long it'd take him to die. But the really creepy moment was, I kind of wish the movie had done something like this, because it was a big moment in the documentary, obviously, but to give you an idea about the way Kuklinski was in real life and how perfect Shannon's embodiment of him is he says he would kill somebody just for making him mad. Like, it could be something really small, or it could be something big, like cutting him off the road, or,
they go into that too.
Yeah, but the interviewer's talking to him, and I guess I didn't really catch it, but I guess the interviewer kind of had a degrading sound in his voice, like he was being patronizing a little bit.
Oh boy.
And Kuklinski just kind of smiles at him and starts to laugh a little bit, and very, very calmly says to the interviewer, you almost just made me mad. And the interviewer's just kind of like, I didn't mean to do that. And he's just like, I don't know what it was or like what triggered it inside me, but for whatever reason, you almost just made me mad.
That man would have been killed right on HBO.
But he was able to calm himself.
Why couldn't he do that before?
Well, he
prison changes someone.
Yeah, you could tell he was like he says multiple times in the interview, if he were to have been let out of prison right then and there, he would not have killed another person. Whether you can believe that, I don't know, but that's the weird thing, is this guy is just ruthless, and there's so many horrible things under his name, but there's something like, there's a real sincerity like in the guy.
Can't help but feel sorry for him.
Like the ending obviously is I'm not doing spoilers on this because you don't do spoilers on true stories. You know, you can Wikipedia.
Yeah.
The reason he was caught was because there was an undercover cop that had been working for him that was wearing a wire, and he had known this guy. Like, he says in the interview, the undercover cop was the only friend of his he didn't eventually have to kill. And the thing is even though this guy was how he got caught, when they were in court together and the cop testified against him, afterwards, he was friendly to him. Like in the movie, when he's arrested, he looks out the window at the cop and says, "Good job."
Him. Yeah, he's like, thumbs up, good job.
It's just... That was definitely an interesting... despite the fact that a lot of people consider him extremely evil, he was at the very least a very interesting person, and he's a very interesting person to learn about and see how he functions, which is another, just him as himself is what is one of the big reasons why this movie works so well. Is him as a person is just a person you can't take your eyes off of.
Yeah.
Like, when I saw that there was a 2.5 hour montage of documentaries, I was like, well, I'll just kind of, skip through these and kind of get some of the basic facts to see how the movie depicts it. I watched that whole thing from beginning to end.
It's like a movie, basically.
It was 3 different documentaries that they did with him, and they just, this YouTube video just meshed them all together.
Like Paradise Lost.
So, just everything about this movie doesn't have a dry moment or a dull spot.
No.
It's always going, and they managed to put all the important facts in there, and not, sugarcoat anything or make anything. A big debate about the movie was whether the movie. A lot of people were pissed off that the movie might portray him as a hero. I don't really know.
To his family, yes, because they didn't know, but to everyone else, probably not.
Yeah, because... See, you have these scenes, especially with his daughters, like I said, the scene where he reads her a poem, and then, there's the one scene, he doesn't want to hurt his family at all, but there is the one scene where he blows up at Winona. But we never are even remotely close to seeing him getting mad at either one of the kids.
Yep.
And, of course, there was the scene where he chases that guy.
Yeah.
For yelling at him, because he's driving down the road and he sees Mr. Freezy over here and it distracts him and he bumps into a guy's bumper.
But he flips him off, and that's just something you don't do.
And that guy gets pissed off and he says "fuck you" and "fuck your family." And
yeah, that was a bad idea.
Of course, he hated himself for putting his family in danger because he chased after this guy looking to kill him with his whole family in the car with him, and he easily could have gotten them killed that day. But I don't think that actually happened in real life, but something similar I think did.
What about the hit and run with the daughter? Was that ever mentioned in real life?
Not in the documentaries, but
because I thought that was a really potent scene to show why he cares more about his family than anything else.
Yeah, because that's when he's like. Yeah, that's another thing. The one thing that might leave you unsatisfied with the movie, and I don't know why they didn't delve into this, but when he has the scene with Roy DeMeo where DeMeo says, "You're working for Mr. Freezy. I'm just gonna kill your whole fucking family."
You'd think right there Roy's going down.
You spend the whole movie like just anticipating when that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you the good news is in real life, Roy DeMeo was found in the trunk of a car sometime before Kuklinski went to prison. But the Roy DeMeo in the movie doesn't really come back into the movie after that. Like we never really hear about him again. So, yeah, if you're disappointed about that as far as the movie's concerned, yeah, he didn't make it out of that situation in real life. So there's that. So you might want to put in the description. The people who want to see the Iceman but haven't read any wiki stuff or seen anything on him might not want to watch this review yet. If they want,
I can do that.
if they want to watch it as a movie, you know, and they don't know all the stuff.
Not a problem.
So, yeah, I think that's probably got to be the best movie of the year. It's between this and Pain and Gain, obviously. So
That's a weird two for it to be between.
Well, they're both
Crime movies.
they're both grisly true stories.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, that's. I think I said pretty much the whole movie by now. So
Yeah, I think we went into pretty much everything.
But yeah, so
Except for Mr. Well, we don't want to talk about that. Spoilers as well.
yeah, because that actually played out differently in real life than it does in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll just say Mr. Freezy's outcome is a little different, but you know, it's a pretty effective scene in the movie, even though it didn't go down that way in real life. So, but in real life, Mr. Freezy was found in the driver's seat of his ice cream truck with bullets in his head. The movie does it differently, and I actually think the movie did a good job at making, because Mr. Freezy's a major character, so
yeah,
he goes out a little more dramatically in the movie.
I like that scene actually.
Yeah, it's a really good scene. And yeah, if you don't think Captain America can play crazy,
Oh yeah, he can.
Yeah. Oh, and to touch on one more thing about Franco, if you don't think you're gonna have enough Franco in the movie, I'll just say that Michael Shannon is known for being a really intense actor and like really scary, like and vicious. But Franco was at a press conference for Spring Breakers, and he was telling the story about shooting this scene with Michael Shannon. And even though Michael Shannon said, even though Shannon was the one killing Franco in the scene, Franco's acting was scaring Shannon.
I'm not sure how that works.
So, yeah, I'll let the rest of it be seen, but whether it's on DVD or if you can find it somewhere, make sure the Iceman is something you watch as soon as you just come in contact with it. But, yeah.
Sadly, not everybody has a 45 minutes away, a nice independent movie theater they can go watch this stuff at.
Well, then you have your people on the other side of the country that, you know, have all kinds of access.
Yeah, we don't like them.
All right, we're almost an hour and a half in, so I'm going to go right into another Michael Shannon outing.
This was literally Michael Shannon Day the other day.
Yeah, he's only in this for like 2 minutes, but even so.
That helmet's just gold.
This is...
Talk about that in a minute.
This is Matthew McConaughey's movie Mud that went to Cannes last year and just got released this year because they thought it would be too McConaughey'd out last year, I guess.
That is never possible.
But, yeah, he's got this and The Wolf of Wall Street and The Dallas Buyers Club and I think another one.
Sounds right.
And then he's got Interstellar next year.
Yeah.
But, this is basically the story. Mud is McConaughey's name, and he's this convict who has... They keep calling him a convict, but I don't think he escaped from prison. He's just escaping the people that...
The relatives of the person he killed.
Yeah. He, and these two boys find him living in a boat on an island, and he's just trying to get back to his love, Reese Witherspoon.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to try to use these two boys to help him get there. But the trouble is Reese is getting terrorized by this family, and the boys start getting involved in that, and it just causes trouble for everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Joe Don Baker is the head of the family, kind of doing kind of like a very, very, very toned down Bernie Rose.
Yeah, I can see that.
If Mud were more of a stylized movie, Joe Don Baker's part could have been really, really showy and meaty, but he's just kind of got the stoic fatherly thing going, which is good too.
Yeah.
Even though he should have had a little more screen time.
Agreed.
But it's set in Arkansas, so they really, really go for the Malick-y cinematography. Like, that was one of the big things everybody was saying about Can was Jeff Nichols. Jeff Nichols, who did this is only his second movie after Take Shelter, which if you haven't seen, you got to try to go down to. It's Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain. And he's I lost where I was. Take Shelter just threw me off. Oh, everybody was talking about how
cinematography.
Nichols was
Malick
channeling Malick.
Yeah.
This is a lot more interesting than a Malick movie, but it does kind of feel like it kind of has a Days of Heaven feel. But a lot more, character and acting as opposed to looking at nature. But speaking of him, Ty Sheridan, I can't remember if Ty Sheridan is Ellis or Neckbone, but he was one of the kids in the Tree of Life. He was one of the ones that had like no screen time. I want to say he's Neckbone, but I don't know. Well, while you're looking that up, Ellis is the one that actually falls more in line with Mud. He's the one that, like, takes food. His parents are Ray McKinnon and Sarah Paulson. Ray McKinnon was the coach in The Blind Side, and Sarah Paulson people know from American Horror Story. So he takes, like, cans of food and stuff out to Mud and, just helps him survive, basically. And then, there's some good scenes between them.
Definitely.
And there's a nice little subplot with Sam Shepard, who I didn't recognize at first. I've never seen his hair that short. But his face and his voice are a giveaway. He has a good supporting part. Like, he's not wasted like he was in, say, his literally 10 seconds in Killing Them Softly. But anyway, this is where we went into trouble. Everything I've told you about the movie right now is pretty good. The Reese stuff too. I gotta say, people say what they will about her, but Reese Witherspoon is one of the most gorgeous women alive, even when she's playing trailer trash. Like, she's got, like, the tank tops with holes in them and the slutty shorts. And
Natasha Lyonne.
She's got a bruise on her face.
Yeah.
It's like, for some reason, though, she's, like... That was the problem, was she got a lot of hate at Cannes for... people thought she was arrogant because she was talking about... She's only in this movie for, like, 10 minutes. And the movie's over 2 hours. And she was saying that, she liked working with Jeff Nichols because Jeff Nichols thought he could hire somebody like Reese Witherspoon to be in this movie for 10 minutes and not be distracting. Yeah. Because she's this huge thing.
Exactly.
She was really... I mean, people love, trying to make her look arrogant and bitchy, but that's kind of a truthful comment.
Very true.
Because this is just some indie movie that did not get a wide release at all. And you have Reese Witherspoon, and she's only in it for 10 minutes.
True.
Doing the trailer trash thing to boot. But what's wrong with this movie is that Ellis has two subplots. The first is his parents are getting divorced, and that makes him sad, I guess. Even though he hates his dad, he doesn't really like his mom too either. But anyway, but then they also go into this subplot where he likes a girl. Like, it tries to be a coming-of-age movie, too. Like, it's like Days of Heaven meets Now and Then.
Wow.
But, that was just weird and stuck out and made the movie longer than it needed to be. Because it seems so out of... The movie's called Mud. So you think the movie would be about mud.
No.
But they go into this whole separate thing about Ellis and this girl that he likes that doesn't like him back.
Well, she portrays that she likes him back. She goes on one date with him and everything, and then when she's around her friends, he doesn't exist. Because he's a 14-year-old little boy.
Yeah.
And she's a senior, so... Supposedly.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're looking at. She was definitely a nice girl.
The younger guy liking the older woman doesn't always go well.
No, it doesn't.
But, that went on for way too long. I thought it was enough backstory. Like, they want Ellis to be a pitied character. I think the divorce would have been enough.
True.
I don't think Ellis needed 2 different plots. On top of the fact that he's the one we follow with, like, if you're going to give Ellis plots, then make Neckbone the one that befriends Mud. But
that wouldn't make sense.
They give everything to Ellis, and Neckbone becomes like a side character.
That Sheridan is Ellis.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I recognized Neckbone, but...
Jacob Laughlin was Neckbone.
But, yeah, and then it goes into this, a lot of people, well, this is Cannes, so you know they're going to be uptight and all French. But a lot of the critics initially didn't like the movie because the movie ends with a shootout. And it was really, really artsy leading up to that. But the problem is these people just need to get over it because if you're banging... Now, you people at Cannes and all you other art house people, you need to know, under all this photography, under all this photography...
I like that word.
The plot was happening the whole time, and in case you weren't paying attention to that plot, you were too busy looking at all the Maliki scenery. This plot had to end with a shootout.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because the whole movie is about, like... Pretty much every time the boys meet a character, this character is telling them to not trust one of the other characters in the movie.
Very true.
So by the end of the movie, we're not supposed to trust the family, we're not supposed to trust Reese, we're not supposed to trust Mud, we're not supposed to trust Sam Shepard. It's just... And then everything eventually comes together. Yeah, that's... The trouble is this movie was good. But the length and the Ellis storylines really started to drag it down and bring it lower than it should have been. But, and of course we have, the great Michael Shannon, his much anticipated work. He's Neckbone's uncle, because his parents are, dead or gone or something?
Something like that.
I think they died.
I think they're dead.
But he, if we get a great introduction to him, he's just finished banging this woman. And normally, in that scenario, you would, put your pants on and run outside. But apparently he didn't have any pants near him, so he comes out in this one-piece wetsuit that he's just put on halfway. and he does this... There's this weird... I don't even know why they went into it. I think it was just another time waster, but... For some reason, they take us into... He wears this giant makeshift... He goes, scuba diving for pearls, but it's this giant... Like I said, maybe it's like a prototype Zod suit.
And it's got, it's got ginormous, lights on the side of it, too.
Wait, I gotta mention something totally off topic for a second. I gotta get back to Zod, but
yeah, good
I'll
idea.
finish up Mud first. It's worth mentioning that it's always nice to go to these independent theaters that don't get too much business, because people don't really care about their jobs.
True!
So we're sitting there, and we see the infamous green screen that's previously been approved for appropriate audiences.
I hate that so much now.
And when the trailer came on, it looked really familiar. Yes. Right before we saw Mud, we got the trailer for Mud.
Just don't do that, people.
It was funny. I was telling him, I really wish we were down there enough to where we could throw the people off and just go in and sit down for Mud and watch the Mud trailer with people in there And then when the Mud trailer ends, just say, "Holy shit, that was good! I'm gonna tell all my friends to see this!" And get up and leave and never come back.
I want to see how many people would follow us. That'd be even better. To see how many people would actually follow us.
Or try to run us down and try to say...
No, you need to stay! I've seen this like 6 times this week.
Oh, God.
And we looked at him and said, good.
I would kill to be able to do that prank on people.
Yeah. Can't use my powers for evil.
But, so yeah, it's got a lot of good... The McConaughey, like, pretty much every scene McConaughey's in is great. This is another great McConaughey performance to add to his current roster that's been happening lately.
He's been on point, like, everything he's done lately.
It's a shame he's, like, barely in the Wolf of Wall Street. But, he's one... I've read the script, that's how I know that. And I've read the book, too.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, he's going to be non-existent in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Good, he needs a break. He's been in everything lately.
So, yeah, so Mud is 2 hours and 10 minutes, and Mud is about an hour 20 of good movie. And the rest, you know, just needed cut. Like, this could have been maybe a 95-minute movie and been just fine. But... as is, they just really should have... It just really brings it down so much and makes it tiring. Like, almost by the time it gets to the climax, you don't care anymore because all the stuff that's been going on is like... I don't know why he was trying to make it so long. Like, the story's really simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose, you know, if a story's simple, you want to add, you know, layers to it, but...
Yeah.
This just became too much. It's got like 3 or 4 different plots going on, and it needed. If you had to at least do one more plot, off the one main plot, don't, you know, go everywhere. And so that's pretty much all I have to say about Mud. The thing I was gonna say. While we're on the this has nothing to do with Mud, but while we're on the subject of Shannon, apparently there's a rumor. Obviously, you can't take these rumors too seriously, but apparently this has been floating around. Apparently, there is a rumor that there will be a post-credit scene for Man of Steel.
Okay.
Don't get too excited because this could very well be a lie. And I wouldn't be surprised. Just to, you know, people are always making up fake shit for comic book movies to get people excited.
Of course.
There is a rumor going around that there will be a post-credit scene for Man of Steel that shows Superman flying in and taking Batman out of the bat before it blows up.
There's no way. Will, turn off your television.
At the same time, you know... I would buy it.
I would too.
People are always saying how impossible it was that Bruce got out.
I was actually reading something about it on a website earlier today about how the impossibility of the ending of The Dark Knight Rises.
Well, think about if they did
and
that,
legalities that had to do with the fact that Bruce was declared legally dead. And
well, think about if they did it, though.
Yeah, it'd work.
But like I said, you know, you can't, you know, take a lot of stock into that stuff. So, moving on to a totally different subject, our final movie, which I don't have notes for, I'm just going to have to remember, is the HBO movie you've probably already seen by now, or at least heard a lot about, which was Behind the Candelabra, which is the Liberace movie by Soderbergh, starring Michael Douglas and Matt Damon. The problem with this was... Soderbergh made it for theaters, and had always intended it to be a theatrical release. But for some reason, Hollywood suddenly got all scared again, and wouldn't do it because the movie was too... Obviously, Liberace was, in a phrase I heard not too long ago, as gay as the day is long. Alonzo Duralde from The Rap, I took that from you. Movie studios didn't want it, for some reason. Like, Soderbergh's argument was, didn't we break this barrier in 2005 with Brokeback Mountain being a massive success? But for some reason, no studio wanted Behind the Candelabra because it was so flamboyant. And
Philip Morris got a theatrical release.
yeah. But HBO managed to come in and save the day. Only trouble is that makes it automatically a TV movie, ineligible for Oscars. Douglas has got the Emmy, the SAG, and the Globe in the bag, but
Like Julianne Moore with Game Change. It's exactly the same situation.
the story is the 10 years that he had Liberace had a relationship with a guy named Scott Thorson, who's Damon. Yeah, Damon's what, in his 40s now?
Mm-hmm.
And Damon is playing a guy that's like a guy that's from 18 to 28, I think. He like put on a wig and his face looks like a lot younger, and and obviously they fall in love and they become quite a thing. But the trouble is what happens to Scott because of Liberace's lifestyle. Because Liberace's the kind of guy where you're like his entire world.
Yeah.
When you're convenient, but when he's bored with you, it'll be somebody new.
Yep.
Because when Damon shows up and goes to Liberace's house for the first time, there's a guy already there that's kind of giving Liberace the silent treatment. So you sense, they don't talk about it, but you sense something's wrong.
Mm.
And then, of course, Damon becomes his lover. And then, of course, towards the end of the movie, there's somebody else, and Damon's the one walking around the house giving Liberace the silent treatment.
Nice.
And Liberace just had this continuous chain all the time of just having people in his life to love and then throwing them away. Well, and then there must have been something weird going on with him, but his thing was he had Scott get plastic surgery to look like him.
Wow.
And as I'm sure you've all heard about, because this performance is getting a lot of buzz and a lot of love. The plastic surgeon is played by Rob Lowe. And he's got like long hair, and he's got the he's gone through so much plastic surgery, his eyes are like shut all the time. And he's really not in the movie that much, and I don't think he did anything too out of this world, so I don't know where all this buzz is coming from. People keep saying that he's got the Emmy in the bag for supporting actor. But maybe I'll need to watch the movie again or something. But yeah, if the gay subject matter makes you uncomfortable, this is going to be a tough sit for you. But I'd like to think you people are adult enough to be able to watch this story without saying yucky. So, because there are they don't really show anything, but you do see a sweaty Michael Douglas and Matt Damon right after it's happened, and Damon's dialogue about, my God, how can you stay hard for 4 times? Douglas just has this proud smile on his face. In his head, he's saying, dude, I'm married to Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then, of course, you have your standard biopic stuff. Scott Thorson gets into drugs and alcohol and starts to, descend. And it gets kind of cliche and biopic-y there, but but Damon and Douglas are, like, really awards worthy. Like, Douglas is going to wipe the floor with whoever his competition is. I guess it would be Al Pacino for Phil Spector, which is not a great movie, and it's a good Pacino performance, but it's by the numbers Pacino.
Ooh.
He's got his soft moments, he's got his yelling, so forth. Pacino's got that down to a mastery now, but we've seen it all before. What Douglas is doing is something Douglas has never done before.
I'm just looking at these pictures, and he looks identical to Liberace.
Because he's got the flamboyant, all over the place thing going, and then he's got the internal thing going. And there's Scott Bakula plays the guy that takes Scott Thorson to a Liberace concert, and that's how they meet. Bakula introduces Scott Thorson to Liberace. And there's this funny scene where Damon says, the audience is, obviously it's Liberace, the audience is going crazy. And it's all these women fawning over him. And of course the big thing was, Austin Powers even made this joke about, people just could not believe that Liberace was gay when they found out. Because they didn't find out till after he died. Because he died of AIDS. But the thing was they're sitting in the audience and all the women are going crazy for him. And Damon says, I can't believe the audience would go for something this gay. And Bakula says, the audience has no idea. But you got Douglas on stage in like his sparkly outfits and all of his big furs and all that, and the audience just never knew.
Wow.
And they said, it's like if you were another gay person, it's like just one glance at him and you know. But the audience, the women in the audience just never had any idea at all.
They just fawned over him.
Like they tried, the ending when Liberace's dying, he's like desperately trying to make it to where nobody knows the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, eventually it got out that it was AIDS that he died of, and that's how it was found out. And yeah, that's a really hard scene to take, where he's like on his deathbed and Scott's there, and there's the nice scene where, you know, the whole movie Liberace's been loving and then leaving people just left and right. But then there's the scene where he tells Damon like he was always, you know, the best one and all that. And there's like his dying words, and apparently Scott Thorson's not doing so well now. Apparently he's like been through chemo, and he's like he has to get money by asking fans.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, but the movie only goes into this. It's kind of like what Scorsese did with The Aviator, where it's refreshing to get a true story that's not a full-on biopic. It's just this one certain part of their life. So, it's getting great reviews, and everybody that watches it is really loving it. And it is. I wish it had gotten a theatrical release, because it should have had one. It's definitely good enough for one. It's not just. That's the problem. Is it's such a great movie, but it's gonna forever have that asterisk next to it that says TV movie. And nowadays, I mean, TV is getting progressively, you know, more prestigious as time goes on, but still that label that says TV movie just kind of takes you down a couple of notches in people's minds immediately.
One of my favorite movies of all time, as you well know, is an HBO TV movie, so that also probably should have gotten a theatrical release as well, but just didn't.
I think we've gone almost to an hour 47.
Yes.
Well, that's finally it. So
next week?
Well, chances are Behind the Candelabra will be playing a lot on HBO, so it should be easy to find. The Iceman is the best movie of the year out of 91 movies so far.
Agreed.
So, find that. Mud, if you're a really huge McConaughey fan and you want to see what else he's going to do, or even if you're not a huge McConaughey fan but you like what he's doing with this different direction he's taking, Mud's worth looking at. But yeah, if you're gonna take my advice, I'm not like absolutely telling you, but if you want to take my advice, save your money this weekend, because both Now You See Me and After Earth aren't worth it.
They'll both be online very soon.
But next week is The Purge and The Internship.
Yeah. And who knows what's going to come to Athens next week.
Yeah, The Purge should be interesting. I kind of like this.
I'm really excited for this movie.
Even though it starts off as an interesting concept, then goes into The Strangers Part 2.
It's The Strangers meets Panic Room.
Yeah.
And I was hooked the second I saw the first trailer.
And the thing is with the title, The Purge, and the trailer being over the American flag, I'm afraid it's gonna. I hope they don't make it too political with the whole. I'm sure it's gonna be gun control, stop the violence movie, because that's what the whole subject is.
Well, last time we heard the word purge in a theatrical release was Cabin in the Woods.
Because some people are actually concerned that with the movie setup, it might promote violence as a good thing. But I don't know. We'll find out next week.
And the internship, I mean, I've heard some early buzz about it. It's typical Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, so.
I'm not a Wedding Crashers fan.
No, he's not.
Hate me if you want to, but I don't see the big deal at all with Wedding Crashers.
It's overrated, to say the least.
And this is just going to be that, only at Google instead of Christopher Walken's house. So
It might work, might not, who knows. And then we got in the coming weeks, we've got World War Z, we've got Monsters University, Man of Steel, whatever comes to Athens our way. I mean, there's a lot of good movies coming out in the next couple of months. So we're definitely going to be able to get you some great reviews between now and then.
So yes, I spent an hour and 50 minutes making this video, so you better watch it. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but, yeah, I am.
And that's what a good critic does.
Yes, watch this now. So, until next week, that's that.